Welcome to Go Get Great, the podcast for aspiring entrepreneurs and ambitious small business owners. I'm your host, Brittany, owner of Brittany Miller Socials and mother of 3. Go Get Great is all about helping you make life and business work together. You'll learn about the fumbles that helped get me and my guests to where we are today so you don't have to make them. So come join the journey with Go Get Great. Good morning and welcome back to another episode of the Go Get Great podcast. I'm really excited today, although I know I say that every time, but I'm excited today to have Alex on. Alex is a Pinterest strategist for business owners, creatives, and bloggers. She helps you get substantial long-term marketing from Pinterest so that you don't have to feel tethered to social media day in and day out. Especially if that's not your thing, you don't like showing up on video, Pinterest is a really great option for you to market your business. So Alex actually runs 2 blogs herself, and she loves helping teach people about the power of Pinterest for their business and how you can make it really, really simple for you. So I've personally been working with Alex myself on my own Pinterest strategy, and I have learned so much and gotten some really amazing results actually in such a short period of time since kind of implementing some of the strategies she suggested for me. So I am having her on today so that we can discuss some of the kind of basics, what is Pinterest? Is it going to work for you? When's the right time to get started? And she has so much wisdom to share on all of those topics and also some really awesome freebies for you. If after listening to the episode, you're like, you know what, this is amazing. Why have I not considered Pinterest before? Which is probably how you're going to feel. So without further ado, I'd love to welcome Alex to the podcast so that we can dive in and she can just teach you so much about long-term marketing strategies on Pinterest. Well, good morning, Alex, and welcome to the Go Get Great podcast. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you doing, Brittany?
I'm really well. I'm very excited for our conversation. I have been talking about Pinterest for so long and internally more so than anything else about something that I wanted to do for my business, and we've been working together and I have just learned so much from you. So I'm so excited for you to be here and for you to talk to the listeners today about Pinterest and why it's so valuable for entrepreneurs. But before we dive in, can you introduce yourself in your own words so everyone can get to know you?
Yeah, of course. Thank you for the opportunity to chat with your audience.
Yeah.
So my name is Alex. I oversee Simply Alex Jean. So I am a Pinterest strategist. So what I do is essentially help business owners with creating an intentional and a purposeful strategy for Pinterest. So one of the most common things I see people do on Pinterest is just kind of throw spaghetti against the wall. They just put up a couple pins, hope together it'll all magically make their Pinterest dreams come true. And so I really dive into kind of like, what are your business goals? What do you want to get? What will move the needle in your business? And really make a custom strategy for business owners that's about what they want, how to make Pinterest work for them. And I make Pinterest easy because Pinterest is and can be to a lot of business owners daunting and overwhelming and just seem like this giant mountain that you just don't know how to climb. And I, being a student affairs professional previous to this, love to teach. And so for me, I'm all about breaking it down really, really simply and making sure that we're just taking one step at a time and we're making it really into bite-sized pieces so that Pinterest is a powerhouse and not something that is overwhelming and causing you stress in your business, because no one needs that. Business owners don't need more stress.
No.
And so that's really where I thrive. And that's really why I do what I do, is to make it so easy for folks. And I started my business just over 4 years ago, just in regards of starting as kind of like a Pinterest VA, Pinterest manager. It's because I have chronic illnesses. And so for myself, the idea of showing up on social media and being this woo-woo person was really overwhelming. And so for me, I created a Pinterest, business account, created a website, and really learned that I could be myself, really market my business without all the exhaustion, without sacrificing my health. And that's what I also help business owners do, is if social media isn't for you or you get really exhausted in those types of ways, really helping you lean into a platform that is a little bit more passive and a little bit less of you needing to be the face of it.
And you've definitely helped me take the overwhelm out of Pinterest. Part of the reason I've been talking about it for so long is because I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. This feels very complicated. So I
Yeah.
just never got started. So I'm excited to break that down with you today. I think kind of the best place to start maybe would be if you could share why Pinterest is so valuable for entrepreneurs. I think you just talked about it a little bit in terms of it helps you run your business in a more aligned way. But can you share more about how it actually supports some of your business goals so people can kind of see the big picture?
Yeah. So in regards of kind of what Pinterest is to a business owner. So Pinterest
Mhm.
is a long-term marketing plan. It's not short-term, it's long-term based, and it's a visual search engine. So a lot of people think of Pinterest as another social media platform, but it is a search engine. It is similar to Google. It's similar to those types of search engines that you're used to typing a query into and getting a result. That is Pinterest. And so why it's really helpful for business owners, and for myself and for my clients is it really is a great place for lead gen. It's a really incredible place to gather an audience, to get people into your world, and then spend time nurturing them. Your Pinterest audience is a cold audience when they come in. They're not like on social media where they're warming to you, they're getting to know you, that like, know, and trust factor. They're cold, but as long as you're giving them a solution to their problem, they're going to be in your world and they're going to help and they're going to pay off and it's going to be phenomenal with them, right? So,
Mhm.
Pinterest, people go to Pinterest because they have a problem. They go there because they need answers. So if
Mhm.
your business is that answer, boom, connection. They're going to go, they're going to dive into whatever you're giving, right? And so for business owners, that's so incredible because you don't have to be on the platform for it to be working for you. You don't have to be keeping up with the latest algorithm post. You don't have to be keeping up with, showing your face on camera, dancing for reels, all those types of things. It can just be happening, ping, 2 a.m., you get a new lead, right? 5 a.m.,
Mhm.
you get a new lead. You're away on vacation and you're getting leads because Pinterest is working passively behind the scenes as a visual search engine.
Mhm. And when you say lead generation too, it's more so than just like potential clients for your business, although that is one benefit too. It can really support things like email growth as well, right?
Yeah, so that's the main way that I get a lot of people to look at Pinterest is it's going to build your lists and your funnels, right? That we're going to capture them at the top, and then your business is going to work them through that process. So for a lot of online business owners, they've got landing pages, they've got funnels, they've got email lists, and Pinterest is a great way to just really target a lot of folks into that area that you want more people into.
Hmm.
If you're a brick and mortar business owner, then Pinterest is a little bit different because you're more targeting that specific audience in that surrounding area. But for online business owners who, the global audience is their audience, then really capturing people in some type of process is really the goal of Pinterest so that you can warm them, nurture them, and get them into whether that's a client, whether that's a sale, whether that's just getting bigger brand awareness, really depending on your goals, Pinterest can help with those launching points.
I think that's awesome. And you actually kind of answered a little bit of my next question, but who does Pinterest work for? So I kind of assumed that Pinterest, I mean, is best for those kind of digital people. The world is their oyster, but you mentioned brick and mortars can actually use Pinterest as well. So how broad does it actually go? Does Pinterest work for every type of business?
I wouldn't say it works for every type of business. I would say you need to know where your people are, where your audience is, and if they are on Pinterest. So brick and mortar, specifically when it comes to brick and mortar, the places and the clients that I've seen the most success in is brick and mortar stores that relate to a specific niche on Pinterest. So for example, the wedding industry, right? So
Mm-hmm.
bridal shops and things like that, those do really well on Pinterest. And you just need to use really targeted keywords and you really need to target down into the area that you're, specific for, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for ourselves, we're in Ontario, right? So using a lot of keywords specific to those areas and to kind of the GTA and things like that, so that you can get more people. Now, if you are, necessarily a local coffee shop, that's not necessarily going to do as well on Pinterest because you're not going to get people wanting to take that longer drive to get a coffee when they can potentially find it closer to them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in regards to brick and mortar, it really kind of depends on kind of, your catchment, how many of them are you, how much is your ideal client going to travel to find you?
Mm-hmm.
And so those more niche and those more specialized brick and mortar stores, you're going to be able to do a little bit better on Pinterest because people are going to be willing to travel to find you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Brick and mortar stores also do really well with ad spend because in Pinterest, you can target ads specifically to a specific postal code, to a specific
Oh.
area. So I could target them to my specific town. I could target them to my specific province. So ads really let you play around with brick and mortar businesses in a really, really great way. And I have quite a few clients that are brick and mortar and they absolutely think it's phenomenal for growing their business.
Mm-hmm.
In regards of the digital world, obviously the world is your oyster, right? So if you're someone who provides services to anyone globally, if you're selling a digital product, anything like that, then again, you're capturing the entire Pinterest audience. So your net is a lot bigger than someone who's brick and mortar and focused solely on their area.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to catch and get a lot more people.
Mm-hmm.
In regards of businesses that do well on Pinterest, I typically recommend to folks if you're curious about if your people are on Pinterest, type into the search bar some keywords that are pertaining to your business and see kind of what pins exist and see kind of what keywords exist and what key phrases exist and see if those are your people.
Mm-hmm.
Because not all businesses are there, right? And not all audiences are searching on Pinterest for that
Mm-hmm.
specific thing. And so that's one of the main ways I kind of tell people to kind of determine if their business fits or not. You can also talk to someone who has expertise in Pinterest if you want specific one-to-one advice, but just throw some words in the search bar and see kind of what's out there in that area and if those are your people or not.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. So it works for service-based businesses. It works for product-based businesses. You can be brick and mortar. You can be online. I love that. You also touched on making sure that your audience is on Pinterest, which I really like. That's something that I talk about as well, because yeah, you don't want to start and invest a bunch of time in a platform that your audience is not on. So do you know kind of, well, you're a Pinterest expert, I'm sure you know, but what is the kind of demographic of Pinterest users? I know there's like this whole thought process that only women use Pinterest, but I'm not convinced that that's actually true.
I would say it's still predominantly women, but it's
Okay.
not exclusively. So, if you were to look at the demographics years and years ago, you would be right, right? It's your mom, your woman, middle class income. Whereas now we've found over the past, 4 or 5 years, Pinterest become a lot more diverse. And it's become a really positive space that a lot of people actually gravitate towards. So in regards of some of the things that, the key demographics are, you're still looking at your middle class income. That's
Hmm.
still the majority of the puzzle piece, but the age range has really gotten bigger. So it used to be kind of your 30 to 40s. It's really slid down to 18 to kind of 40 to 50 now. That's kind of the people that are on Pinterest, which is really a big age slide. That's a lot of people. And again, you used to be predominantly female, and now again, that male population and everything else is really creeping in and starting to take over.
Hmm.
So it's kind of everyone. I know that's not necessarily the most helpful. But yes, I know it used to be that you had to go on and, the idea was it was for people who were looking for like mom groups, or it was looking for DIY home decor, or is looking for like quick and
Yep.
easy dinner recipes. Oh, it's still there. As someone who owns a home and looking for dinner recipes, it's still there, but
Yeah.
that is not exclusively who is on and who is searching.
Hmm.
So there's a lot, the tech industry's really come into Pinterest in the past 5 or 10 years, and there's a lot more, driven about computers and, chat GPT, AI, social media, and things like that has really been a growing industry in the Pinterest world. And
Hmm.
that's where a lot of entrepreneurs are finding kind of their wiggle spot is finding those people who are looking for solutions that
Hmm.
are their business.
Hmm. Yeah, I like that. That's why I'm starting on Pinterest now. I'm gonna try and find my space with social media, because I actually go and do a lot of Pinterest searches for my own business, like how to structure a blog post and what the heck is SEO and all of those things. So it's like if I'm doing it, everybody else is probably doing it too.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned that Pinterest is a long-term marketing strategy. Social media platforms like Instagram and Facebook are obviously the more short-term strategies. But when should a business owner start thinking about using Pinterest? Where should they kind of be in their business journey for it to make the most sense for them?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there's not necessarily a perfect answer, but I recommend to folks, typically between your first and second year is a good time to start considering Pinterest. The reason why is for Pinterest to work really well, you need a website that you own. And you need that
Mm,
website to have several pages of content. You can't just have your about your services and your landing page, right? For a freebie or opt-in. And so
mhm,
usually in the first year or two, business owners are figuring out who their ideal audience is, right?
mhm,
They're building up their website, they're building up their lead magnets, their freebies. And so Pinterest really does well when you know who you're targeting. So,
mhm,
that ideal audience, targeting the keywords, and you've got a lot of content that aligns with what your business goals are,
mhm,
right? So, in the first year or two of entrepreneurship, sometimes people change lanes.
mhm.
Sometimes people change their businesses, right? So,
Yep.
before you jump into Pinterest, you just want to make sure that you've got your ideal audience. Doesn't have to be perfected, but at least you have a good understanding of who they are. You have
Mhm,
a good understanding of what problems you solve for your ideal audience and what their problems are, so that
mhm,
you can really target those pins. You've got at least 7 pages on your website. So that could be a variety of blog posts, freebies. It doesn't matter, just a variety of long form content. And you have a long term marketing plan for your business. So again, you're not thinking about where I'm going in the next month. You're thinking about, okay, a year or two from now, this is where I want to be. This is what I want to focus on, so that you can really tailor Pinterest into exactly what you want to build, and not just, again, as I said, throwing spaghetti at the wall and hoping
mhm,
something will stick. Really focusing on what the business goals are long term.
mhm. That makes sense. Would you also recommend that people have a email marketing setup and long form content, like a podcast or a blog that they're regularly posting to before starting on Pinterest, or is it okay for some of those things to come after?
It's okay for some of those things to come after, but I will preface that if you don't have a way that you're capturing people, you're just increasing your website traffic, which is totally good. And some people, that's the goal, right?
Hmm.
For some people, I'm thinking about bloggers and things like that. Getting increased website traffic is really attractive.
Mm-hmm.
But for a business owner who's looking at, really increasing, your sales or your inquiries, or increasing more people in their world, you're going to want a place to capture them. So at least having some form of email marketing or some form of place that you're putting your audience is ideal. But
Mm-hmm.
again, if you're going to build those, later on, and your goal right now is just to get increased website traffic, then Pinterest can definitely help with that. But to get the most ROI from your time, I would
Mm-hmm.
say capture them somewhere. Make sure your audience is landing in something.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I mean, I talk a lot about email marketing. If any of you guys want help with that, I'm happy to help with that. But I do think that email marketing makes the most sense when using Pinterest. I mean, that's what I'm primarily using it for anyway. That's my goal. I want to grow my email list through Pinterest. But I know, like I said earlier, I just felt very overwhelmed and I didn't know where to start. So if you're like, okay, I check all of these boxes, my target audience is on Pinterest, I'm thinking 2 years ahead, I've got email marketing in place, I've got my long form content, but like, where do I actually start on Pinterest? What is the first thing that I do beyond just creating an account? What would you tell someone?
So once you've kind of established your account, so you've created a Pinterest business account, which is different than a personal one. I do want to
Mm-hmm.
preface with, if you have a personal one that you're sticking all of your dinner recipes to, that's different. You will need to create a Pinterest business account. One of the first couple of things I would suggest is doing some keyword research. So I've got a blog post, and Brittany can link it down in the show notes of how to do keyword research on Pinterest. But
Mm-hmm.
you're going to want to understand kind of what the keyword phrases are that your audience is using. So what I mean by that is, what are the things that they're typing into the search bar? They are not going to be grammatically correct, and they're not going to be spelling correct, because people are using their phones. Their thumbs are big. They're
Yep.
hitting multiple buttons. And people do not put search queries. They don't care about grammar. They just want to get their answers. So
Mm-hmm.
start typing in the search bar some of the words that pertain to your business, and really understand kind of what your audience is looking for, so that you have a starting place with where to put keywords. I then recommend, when you're starting to think about creating your own pins and creating your own boards, that you take some time to really think about who your ideal audience is and what you want to deliver to them, right? You want to make sure that your pins and your boards are aligned with what your business is. And so what I mean by that is, if you've got a blog post, let's say from, 2 years ago, that you're like, oh yeah, when I started my business, this was great, and it's not necessarily aligned with what you're doing right now,
Hmm.
This was totally me and my own business. Then again, making sure that that's something maybe we don't want to translate onto Pinterest and that's something we don't need to make a pin. So I would just go through your content and really look at kind of what's helping people solve problems and make that list. From there, then we can get into the technical side of making boards and making pins, which again, I don't want to make overwhelming in this podcast because it can become overwhelming.
Hmm.
But that would be my starting place is doing a very basic keyword search to really understand what terms your audience is looking for, and then lining that up with the content you have on your website, right? Because if
Hmm.
you have those two pieces, then making pins and making boards is going to be so much easier if you know exactly who you're talking to and you know exactly what your content is solving.
Okay. Makes sense. And now you mentioned Pinterest is very much a visual platform, which is one of the reasons why often I go there to search for answers instead of Google because Google is all text and it's boring. But I know that I'm very much drawn to some pins and not to others. And a lot of that is obviously personal preference. But what are some of the important things to know about creating pins so that people actually want to click on your content once you start creating Pinterest content?
Yes, great question. I will say some of the most hideous pins I have ever made do the best. So, like you said, Brittany, it's personal preference, some of it, but there are some actual SEO tips I can give. But
Yeah.
don't get too critical on yourself about your pin creation. And as a whole audience, don't worry about it, don't stress about it. But here are some quick tips. So, one, you want to make sure your images are bright. So
Mm,
naturally, if you're taking photos yourself, you're using stock photos, you're using a stock photo library, you're going to want to increase the brightness because naturally those photos tend to be a little bit on the darker side just because that kind of makes for a nice photo. But again, you want your pin to pop. You want to catch people's eye. If you think about it, Pinterest, 86% of Pinterest users, that was the last stat I saw. It might have changed since I've seen it. 86% of Pinterest users are on their phone,
mm,
and you are one of 8 pins when they are scrolling, right? So that brightness helps attract their eye.
mm-hmm.
Want to use really easy to read fonts. So a lot of us, myself included, have really pretty script fonts in our branding. It's beautiful, it's gorgeous. I love my script font. Please don't use it on Pinterest or use it very sparingly. It's very tough to read. Again, we're shrinking your pin down on a screen that is very small. And so if you take a look at Pinterest and you look at a cursive font on a pin, you're probably going to have a tough time reading it really quickly. And you have a second or two to catch a pinner's eye, right? You have very little time. So you want to make sure you're using really easy to read fonts.
Mm-hmm.
I always recommend that you are putting front and center in big text what problem you are solving.
Mm-hmm.
So, what is it that the audience is going to get from you? Make it crystal clear. If they're going to get this freebie, tell them exactly why your solution solves their exact problem. Like, lay it out very clearly and put freebie like 10 different places. But you need to make sure that you're speaking to your ideal audience, right? What is their problem, right? Is it, tired, burnt out, exhausted moms, and you're giving them, a template that they can use that's going to like take away, 2 to 3 hours of their organization each week? Awesome. They're going to click that because you're identifying their problem and you're identifying where you're the solution. So
Mm-hmm.
that's something really important that helps with conversion, which is the goal of Pinterest, getting people to click on the pin and go to your website, is making it crystal clear how your content solves their problem. And the last thing I recommend with folks is to always include your logo and or text of what your business is. The
Mm-hmm.
simple fact is if someone were to, let's say, take that pin, steal that pin, create that pin for themselves verbatim, you can go to Pinterest and say, hey, look, this is mine. This is my logo, this is my website, ta-da. That's just more of a not as much of a high converting, but it helps you with making sure that your work is protected and making sure that it's staying in your world and someone else isn't going to copy and paste your pins all over.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that makes sense. And I hadn't really thought about it because primarily I use Pinterest on my computer, but yeah, they get really, really tiny on a
Yeah.
phone. Okay. So I think another thing that it would be good to cover, and this wasn't something that I necessarily realized, but how long does it take for Pinterest to work? What kind of mentality do you need to know going into this project? Because it is a long-term marketing strategy. You're not going to get overnight results, but when will you maybe start seeing some benefit from it?
Yeah. So every account's different, but on average, about 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
So around 6 months, it takes Pinterest time to trust your content, understand your content, see that SEO time and time again, and really understand, which category and index and interest you fit in within their big algorithm of all of their categories, all of their interests. Where do you fit?
Mm-hmm.
And you see from that 6 to 12 month mark, you can really start to see those returns. You'll start to see that increase in traffic. You'll start to see that increase in saves. It can happen a little bit before 6 months, but on average is 6 months. And I typically, even some accounts, sometimes a little bit after 6 months, but again, that 6 months is kind of that sweet spot average, definitely within a year.
Okay. I'm mentally adjusting to that. It feels
Yes.
like such a long time. I was like, I don't know what I'm having for dinner tomorrow. Now I gotta wait 6 months to know if what I'm doing is working, but I trust you and I have faith in the process. But once we kind of hit that 6 month mark, what do we look for to know that it's working, that it's paying off? What metrics actually matter on Pinterest? Because it's a little bit different than just checking to see how many likes and followers you got on Instagram.
Yes. So Pinterest is, I am Canadian. Pinterest is a snowball. It rolls and rolls and rolls and gets bigger and bigger and bigger and builds and builds and builds the more it picks up snow.
Hmm.
And so Pinterest is very similar in that the amount of pins you have as it grows over time, it's going to grow and grow and grow because a pin can have a life cycle of up to 4 years. So on
Ooh.
my own personal account, I have pins that are from 2021 that get me the most traffic to my website each month. They are from 2021, haven't touched them, haven't done a thing, right?
Hmm.
And so the great thing about Pinterest is once you kind of hit that 6 month mark, you're going to start to see that growth of outbound traffic. You're going to start to see more engagement. And the goal is that over time, that will keep increasing. Now,
Hmm.
there's obviously ebbs and flows because Pinterest is a search engine. No one is searching your content 365 all the time. There's
Hmm.
going to be ebbs and flows, but on a general basis, you want to see generally an increase in outbound traffic and engagement. Those are the two that are really, really focusing.
Hmm.
Saves have started to become more important on Pinterest. I think all platforms, saves have kind of become more important. But again, saves kind of ebb and flow with the users and ebb and
Hmm.
flow with what people are searching for. But outbound traffic is the main analytic you want to worry about. Impressions. So when you see impressions, you usually see that when you look at an account, that's the first thing you see. You'll see, 3,000 monthly views, right? That's
Hmm.
impression. That just means that a pin was just seen in general. So as you said, when we're scrolling, tick, that's one, right? That doesn't mean they did anything. That doesn't mean they clicked it. That doesn't mean they engaged with it. That doesn't mean they saved it. That just means it appeared on a screen somewhere in front of someone.
Yeah.
And so that's a metric that I really hear a lot of business owners get hung up on and is actually not something that moves the meter. It's a good temperature read overall to see that your content is growing in searches and seeing that your content's reaching more people. But at the end of the day, we want to focus our energy on outbound traffic, saves, and engagements.
Hmm. Now, engagements, is that liking and outbound traffic? I know that means people visiting your website, but just to clarify for the people that aren't familiar with Pinterest terminology, what does that actually mean?
Yeah, so outbound traffic is meaning they're going from the pin to your website.
Hmm.
Engagements on Pinterest could mean they're clicking the pin to see more. So
Okay.
it could mean just making it bigger on your phone. It could be that they have saved it or had a reaction. So Pinterest has reactions. And again, it could just be that they're, bouncing over to the website. That could also be part of an engagement. So they're just taking action with the pin in some way, shape, or form.
Hmm.
Likes, reactions, followers are not a metric that is something that should be worried about or stressed about on Pinterest.
Hmm.
Followers and things like that don't actually amount to anything really in the algorithm the same way they do on other platforms. But engagements just overall is a good thermometer read and temperature read on, are people enticed by your pins, which is what we want to keep growing.
Hmm. Okay, that makes sense. So, this is maybe a little bit more of a technical question, but something that I think people think about is should I be doing paid ads on Pinterest? Because everyone right now, at least, has been asking me as a business owner about, oh, should I be running Instagram ads? I'm creating all this organic content, XYZ. How much content do I even need to create? And it's very different from like Instagram to Pinterest. So you said that Pinterest pins can live up to like 4 years, whereas Instagram, it's like 24 hours and you're done kind of thing. So what's the difference in terms of content creation, quantity, and also time to do it? Like how long does it actually take to do Pinterest?
Okay, so the first part of your question was ads.
Sorry,
So
yeah, there was a
it's
lot of questions
okay.
there.
It's okay. I just wanted to make sure I didn't leave anything behind. So the first part is, do you need ads to be successful on Pinterest? No. But I have helped numerous clients without ever them touching ads ever.
Hmm.
And they see a lot of success with Pinterest. We are able to hit their business goals with Pinterest. It does take time, that 6 months to 12 month originally. But then,
Hmm.
as I said, by that point, your snowball is getting really, really, really big because all the
Hmm.
pins you made in April are working hard for you in December on top of
Hmm.
the pins you're making in December, right? So you do not need it to be successful. Now, if you have particular business goals or you have particular things that like you have like a 24-hour sale or you're having something that is a really short-lived business thing that you want a lot of website traffic to, then ads are really helpful because you can really target to your audience and you can target for a specific amount of time. But your overall general lead gen, growing your email list, getting more people to your website, you don't need ads to be successful. They're a great tool to have. They're not necessary.
Hmm.
And the second part of your question was,
How long does it take you to do Pinterest, and like how much are you actually creating each week?
so it really depends on kind of your experience with Pinterest. On average, I work with people through my services and whatnot, so they can spend about an hour or so on Pinterest a week. The goal is to spend less than 5 on it a month for most business owners. And for them, that's a really big win. When we're starting and we're learning the skills and it's taking a lot more time, it can average between 3 to 4 hours a week, which again, most of the clients I'm working with, they're spending 4 to 5 hours on social media a week anyway. So for them, this is kind of their handoff. And so it makes sense. But with practice and with time, you can work that down with growing the skills and learning how to do things quicker. But on average, it can take 3 to 4 hours a week. And that comes along with pin creation, scheduling your pins, aligning your content with the upcoming trends and making sure you're doing any SEO updates you need to your account. So those are kind of the 4 main pillars of what people would do in a week on Pinterest.
Hmm.
It ebbs and flows. You're not going to be always optimizing your profile. You're not always going to be recreating boards. But on average, those are the 4 things people would focus on.
Okay. And I think I saw you do a really great post the other day, busting some Pinterest myths. Do I need to be posting 10 pins a day?
No, please don't. Please don't. This is a very outdated practice that
Hmm.
some people still keep with.
Hmm.
And they think that they need to pin, I've heard anywhere between 10 to 30 pins a day. And there are still some Pinterest VAs out there that will do that for people.
Wow.
And essentially, this will likely land you in the spam filter or get your account suspended. Pinterest has been very clear for the past 4 or 5 years that they do not want that,
Hmm.
and that it will set off spam. So I think it was about a month ago they did another big spam clean out. So
Mm.
every couple months Pinterest does a really big clean out, and so accounts like that are pinning like that will get hit in that spam clean out typically. How many pins should you be doing? Between 1 and 3. So if you're a brand new account, 1 a day. If you're a more experienced account, so I'm talking about, those year plus, you can do 2, 3, 4 a day. I don't really ever recommend over 5. I think at that point, your ROI to your time is a little bit, it's tougher to justify sometimes
Mm.
after that point. But the sweet spot for most of the accounts I have managed for years and years and years is between 1 and 3.
Okay. See, that feels manageable.
Yeah.
Now, something that I've been learning since working with you is that not only is it a long-term plan to get results, but you actually need to think a little bit long-term in terms of the content you're creating because you need the pins to have been on your account for a little while before people start searching for them. So, what is that ratio? How far in advance do I need to be creating content for, let's say, Christmas? When would I start those pins?
Yes. So trends, Pinterest trends. Christmas is a unique one, but I will talk generally first.
Okay.
So in general, when it comes to a trend, so this is pertaining to seasonal content, right?
Hmm.
So you're thinking about something about summer, something about Valentine's Day, something about spring break. That type of seasonal content works best when it's 4 to 6 weeks ahead. So
Okay.
let's say Valentine's Day, right? I want to start pinning my Valentine's Day content in November, December. The reason
Mm-hmm.
why is it could take Pinterest 4 to 6 weeks to understand your pin. And by that point, again, we're getting the bulk of the searches because people on Pinterest are planners, Brittany. They don't
Mm-hmm.
go on the day of. Well, some of them do, but typically people are going on for Valentine's Day mid-January, right?
Mm-hmm.
Early January. They're thinking ahead, right? They want to plan
Mm-hmm.
a romantic, evening with their partner. They want to, find the perfect gift or whatnot. They're not doing it the day of.
Mm-hmm.
And so, unlike social media, who's all about the day of, because that, as you said, the 24
Mm-hmm.
hour post,
Mm-hmm.
Pinterest, it's way better to, work backwards about 2 to 3 months. So, when you're thinking about your content, when I'm talking to clients right now, we're talking about summer or even early fall for some of my clients, right? Some
Mm.
of those back to school content we're already starting on. And so, you really want to think at least, 4 to 6 weeks at minimum. I typically say 2 to 3 months is kind of that sweeter spot
Mm-hmm.
because then you're going to get everyone who starts searches early rather than just hitting the people who search the day of with
Mm.
your content. Um, Christmas is a little different because
Oh,
obviously it is massive, it is huge. On average, you should start your Christmas content September, October. So you
okay.
get a bit more of a leeway because Pinterest, Christmas is just so big on Pinterest.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also, this is not your question, but this is a bonus piece of information for listeners. It's not it's not uncommon to see your analytics take a slight dip in December because a
Mm.
lot of companies are throwing all the ad money they can on
Mm.
November and December, which just shrinks organic growth in that time.
Mm.
Now, if you're someone who really focuses on kind of lifestyle content and things like that, then you'll probably actually see a growth. But if you're just a business owner trying to do lead gen and things like that, unfortunately, you can see little bits of dips sometimes during that time, which is unfortunately just the bigger companies having the bigger ad budgets. It's
Mm-hmm.
totally normal.
I
Don't
feel
worry.
that.
Keep
I
at it. The biggest thing with Pinterest is consistency. So even when you see those dips, even when you see, things aren't, analytics are a little red here or there, it's totally okay. Keep the course. Keep going with consistency. It always turns around. I've never seen an account just like absolutely tank and never recover.
good
Just
to
keep
know.
with it. I see a lot of business owners get really demotivated when they see something like that happen and then they just
Mm.
abandon.
Mm.
So it's really important with Pinterest. That's the one most important piece is once you start with Pinterest, it's really important to keep with the consistency. That's the best key to Pinterest.
Okay. Is there any other like pieces of advice or tips and tricks that you want to share that we maybe haven't covered so far? I mean, I feel like you've shared so much already, but I'm sure there's a lot that we haven't talked about.
Uh, you are right. There's there's a lot of things I could go on forever, but I think I'll reiterate some of the key things that I talked about in this podcast. So one,
Hmm.
you really want to make sure that your audience is on there and that they're actively looking for that type of content on Pinterest.
Hmm.
That's really important when you're starting out. You want to make sure your content is solving problems for your audience. That's
Hmm.
really key. I work with a lot of business owners and take a look at their blogs, and their blogs are like how I experienced this journey. And unfortunately, that doesn't necessarily solve a problem for someone. Now,
Mm.
you could take that content and have it solve a problem for someone, but you sometimes need to rework. So you really
Right.
need to make sure you're looking at your content, making sure you're solving problems for folks. And you need to make sure that you're doing something to capture your audience. So when they go to the site, how are
Hmm.
you capturing them?
Okay.
Those are the three biggest things that I think people should think about before they jump into Pinterest. And just making sure that, taking it piece by piece. You don't have to master Pinterest. You do not need to, believe me. Took me a while. It does not happen. You don't need to master Pinterest. You just need to start with one step and one foot in front of the other and keep adding. And before you know it, 6 months will pass and you'll be like, whew, okay, great. I'm seeing all that amazing traffic. That's fantastic, right? And so
Hmm.
it's just one foot in front of the other and make sure it's bite-sized pieces.
Amazing. Well, I love all of that. and everything that you've shared today. And obviously, like I said, I'm just getting started with Pinterest. I think I'm about 2 months in. So maybe we can have another conversation in a couple months and be like, it actually works. Okay, now here's what you do once you're past the 6 month mark. I think that'd be fun because,
Yeah.
yeah, like you said, there's a lot that we haven't covered, but I really wanted to focus on giving you guys that are listening a really basic idea of A, why I'm doing it as an Instagram marketer. Why would I transition to a new platform? Not that I'm going to stop Instagram, but how it's going to benefit my business and also how it can benefit yours too, because growing a business needs to be sustainable for everyone. And I truly believe that that can't be attained exclusively on Instagram. Might be weird for me to say that, but I fully believe it. So thank you so much for being here today, Alex, and sharing your wisdom with us about Pinterest. If any of you guys listening have questions, how can they find you to ask them?
Yeah, so I am on Instagram. But you can hop over at Simply Alex Jean. You can also go to my website, simplyalexjean.com, and you can see lots of my blogs. I have lots of Pinterest blogs with lots of DIY tips
Hmm.
and really explaining kind of the most basic parts.
Hmm.
So those would be the two best ways to reach out to me.
Hmm. And if you're looking to get started with Pinterest and you're not really sure where to start, I know you have some great freebies. Which one would you recommend? And I'll link it in the show notes as well.
I would recommend my keywords guide as the first freebie because it
Hmm.
just walks through how to find keywords, how to use them. It gives you some templates so that you could just copy and paste really easily and make SEO friendly descriptions right from the
Hmm.
get-go. And then I would second that with my Pinterest planner because that helps you, as we were talking about, with being intentional with your content and
Hmm.
really working through, all your pieces of content and aligning them with throughout the year what the trends are.
Hmm. Yes. It's like I need to go back and revisit your keyword one, but I have downloaded your Pinterest planner and it is very helpful because I am not always in that future mindset. I'm in the what am I making for dinner? What is happening in my business today? What's my next meeting mentality? So that one's really good. Okay, fabulous. So, like I said, I'll put the links for those in the show notes. Definitely download those if you're even considering Pinterest in the next couple months because you'll learn a lot and I think it'll give you the confidence you need to actually get started. So, again, thank you so much for being here today, Alex, and I look forward to having you back on again in a little while.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Brittany.
You're welcome. And to everyone listening, again, thank you for listening to the Go Get Great podcast, and we will see you all next week. Thank you so much for tuning in to Go Get Great. I hope you found some useful tips and tricks that can help you make life and business work together. If what I said resonates with you, please share it on social media and don't forget to tag at Brittany Miller Socials so that I can celebrate you for taking those first steps towards achieving greatness. Remember, success doesn't happen overnight. It takes dedication, hard work, and a lot of spirit. So don't be afraid to dream big and go after what you want. Keep striving for greatness. You get closer with every step forward, no matter how small they may seem. Until next time, go get great.